Hello, everyone. My name is Emily Henderson, and I did the theory critique paper on role theory. Role theory is a perspective in social psychology that considers most daily activities that an individual does. It's like a social category that a person acts on during their daily activities. So, in other words, it's focusing on your life and the different roles that you play in your life. One role that we all share is we all graduate students. Some of us might be a daughter, some of us might be mothers, fathers, sons, uncles, and aunts. Um, Role theory in the beginning was actually compared to theater productions. There are three major contributors to role theory, and they all have their different perspectives about role theory. So the first major contributor is George Herbert Mead. He viewed role theory as a coping strategy, and he also believed that individuals evolve as they interact with individuals. He also saw that it's a way to understand perspective and effective in social interaction. The next one I'm going to talk about is Ralph Linton. Ralph Linton viewed role theory as a way to analyze social systems. And then the last one is Jacob Marino, and he's the last contributor to the role theory. He actually viewed it as habitual and sometimes harmful. He also argued that behavior and role playing was a useful strategy for learning new roles. Role theory really focuses on how an individual fits in social society and their social interactions. Um, Role theory also focuses on the individual and their social positions and how the individual holds expectations with the individuals they interact with. And they also focus on the behaviors, like learning the behaviors of not only the individual themselves, but also the other behaviors around them. So even though the contributors all had different viewpoints, those were the main points that they actually agreed upon about social interaction and behavior. So role theory has a couple of concepts that, while doing this paper, I found that really interesting. The first one is like role expectations. Role expectations can be seen like as like a social norm. Role expectation is like when an individual sets certain expectations and limitations on you and how you're supposed to act in a situation. So I kind of looked at it as like a mom telling her kids like this is how you're supposed to behave at a fancy dinner party. And then the second one is role set, which is all the roles associated with a particular status. And I found an example that was really interesting is the example they use is like college students. So like the roles we like have as college students is we attend class, we do homework outside class, we pay tuition bill, and that's like the role expectation, like the role that we set as college students. There were a lot of critiques that I learned that when it comes to role theory, I kind of had a feeling there's going to be a lot of critiques since at the beginning when role theory was being discovered, there's a lot of different viewpoints about it. So here's some of the critiques that I've discovered throughout writing this paper. The first one is that role theory falsely reifies social ideologies. The critic talks about that role theory puts on this normative illusion and believes that normative behavioral expectations with a role reflect the actual behavior of someone. Another critique is that the role theory designates the process of socialization as a mechanism for intergenerational transfer of so-called normative values and behaviors. So an example of like these groups would be like a church group. It would be like just being like in a church, schools, and just being part of like a group. These groups are responsible for providing the model behavior, which is learned by the individual. And then the last critique that I learned is that role theory fails to provide human agency. So what is being said, that the critic said, is that role theory affects an individual's experience due to engagement in occupation and efforts to change existing social practices. And they also create different methods for some people to adapt to their situations. So with all the different critiques of role theory, there are some good things about role theory. The first one is role theory concerns the tendency for human behaviors to eventually form characteristic patterns. So what this means is that an individual forms their own behaviors and starts to transition their behaviors into what they actually want to become part of their personality and characteristics and how they want to view certain aspects of their life. Role theory also plays a huge role in social groups. So an individual possibly might learn about their behavior and their personality by going to different social groups and finding their role in part of that group. And then also, a big part of role theory is also role movement. And role movement is when an individual moves from one role to the next. So, an example would be right now, we are all graduate students, and eventually, when we graduate with our master's degree, we will soon be professional social workers, professional counselors out in the world. So, that's like a new role difference that we'll have to learn. And then also, role movement can also lead to new experiences and have a new outlook of life for some individuals. And also, role theory helps individuals know their social context of society and what certain social context of society that they agree with and what they question and what their next move is to help with those social contexts. I really enjoyed doing my theory analysis paper on role theory because I honestly thought that role theory just pertained to just the roles that we play, but there's a lot of assumptions, critiques, there's different perspectives about it, so it was really great to learn more about role theory and how I can apply it to the social work profession. Thank you.